the Horseshoe crew, and what's left of the analysis and Brony review community. The elite, or rather what used to be the ruling elite of the Brony fandom, where are they? And what you really want to know, where are we without them? For those of you keeping track of Digibro, he's moved on to anime, with varying degrees of success.
Ever since Kill La Kill was first announced, there hasn't been a single conversation about the series that doesn't involve comparing it to 2007's Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, which is fair enough since they're made by practically all of the same people and are both explosively colorful over-the-top action shows. Even though they share a lot of stylistic commonalities, I think that these shows were chasing very different thematic goals, which I also believe that both of them did an admirable job of reaching. In this post I'll be breaking down both series to figure out what each was trying to say.
Part of that being, in my not so humble opinion, the overall lack of competition.
I'm perfectly alone in my room, so I'm gonna be yelling as much as I want to.
Yeah, feel free.
I'd like to point out, some of Digi's best work came after leaving MLP.
While I can promise you that I am a well-read veteran anime dork with a long-standing interest in the studio and have done nearly an entire afternoon's worth of research on the subject, I can't promise that all of what I'm about to explain isn't total bullshit. Anyway, let's get to it.
Moreover, some of his best work came at the tail end of his analysis of MLP.
On your fear to sell you shit, like a miracle tonic that will make you healthy. Just look at nearly every dietary supplement or workout device ever, claiming that they're going to make you lose weight, get healthy, and have hard-toned abs just by using their product. Never mind how it's nearly impossible to do those things without regular exercise and a well-planned diet that fits the needs of your routine. What's crazy about the whole thing is people still buy into it harder than an April Fool's joke about changing my OC back.
It's an improvement, and it's clearly showing a passion. I want to ask you a hard question that you're going to have to answer yourself honestly. Let's contrast Digi with Silver Quill. Now clearly at the end of Season 4, Silver Quill had 10k subs, and he's closing in rapidly on now Will. If you don't think Silver's the best, you'll likely put him in your top 5, and if you don't have him in your top 5, you'll understand why he's big. Ready for the hard question, are you enjoying Silver Quill during Season 5 as much as you did during Season 4?
Appaloosa Rodeo?
Is that question directed at me?
Step up from the olden
Totally.
days of, look,
This
it's
place is
Caramel
a
with a
cutie
western
mark
hat.
gold mine.
Instead, we
Oh,
have
well,
Time
now I
Turner
understand.
with Caramel's cutie mark and a new hat. Well, can't abandon the classics.
Worst idea ever.
You know, sweetie, simply saying that but not taking action doesn't make you smarter than your friends.
This is then
The lesson she learned from her friends. She isn't better than them. She's become a better pony because of them. And let's be honest, this far into the show, do we really love these characters because one has a horn and another has wings?
and this is now.
You alright?
Surely. No, that's Apple Bloom.
Now clearly, I could have picked better, and Season 5 is still young. But if you watched then and now, have you felt the same level of excitement when you tuned in before, during, and after? Part of that is to be expected and comes from familiarity and routine. Clearly the views, the subs, and even the Patreon has swung. But are you enjoying him more now? That's the more critical question I have to ask Silver Quill fans, to judge him by his own standard. Let's contrast Gibbon then now.
My loneliness is killing me.
Gibbon has a fairly big following in Brony, but the compilation series clearly, from an editing standpoint, must have taken an obscene amount of patience. Gibbontake had clearly found a niche, but instead of playing it safe and becoming a one-trick pony, he's moved on to a series of wacky, goofy, and inventive paths. And while the success of his old path has yet to be revisited, it's certainly not safe. For contrast, I'm going to draw from one of the biggest dark horses for Season 5, Tyandaga. He had his own art, his own style, and to me I thought the man had the makings of Silver Quill 2.0. His video giving a glimpse at Fallout of Equestria managed to force me to take a look at content I normally wouldn't have cared about. Pardon the Canadian joke, but the guy I clicked on could sell ice to Eskimos.
Here, Little Pip from the original Fallout Equestria in ways are very much alike as characters. However, they have some important differences that make them unique in and of themselves. Blackjack herself proclaims to be, and I quote, not a smart pony. Well, at times this seems to be quite the contrary, exhibiting sheer strokes of genius. There are far more instances where she makes some, how do we put it, poorly thought through decisions. She's certainly a lot more brave and battle ready than Little Pip. However, Little Pip was better at making more cohesive plans, and not as reliant on others to solve problems or tackle challenges. As well, Blackjack is extremely charismatic. She's often able to talk her way in and out of dangerous situations, and despite her abilities in combat, would rather sort disputes out through discussion, cutting out the violence. This is a trait that Little Pip as a character would have loved to possess, however had never developed. Little Pip was far better at sneaking around obstacles, whereas Blackjack confronts each new problem head on.
The earliest speed bump I really noticed from him was his first Season 5 review, if I could even call it that, where Ty spent an extensive period of the video recapping the episode. Granted, this was his first MLP show review, so I waited and tuned in to make new friends, but keep Discord. It somehow managed to show even less thought on the episode than last time. It supplemented offering a significant opinion on the episode, and instead showed a mailbox running gag. This is still early on, but being critical, these are areas of concern I'd address. If you're going to have a 10-minute video, please do something beyond one flat joke that didn't work in Friendship is Witchcraft, as well as offering a recap. We could use some bold reviewers, seeing as how we lost so many. TBBBAP is still in the fandom, and while their show isn't as fun as it used to be, I can't help but feel that they're still top shelf. Surely not by improvement, by lack of anyone else rising to the occasion. I've watched Phantom Horn and Kick Standard's views on Griffinstone, Princess Spike, and the season premiere, as well as Castle Sweet Castle. And once I get past bitching about not seeing the old visuals, it's still very much a damn fine show. No one else comes close to doing their Ebert and Siskel style with any level of consistency. The way they bounce off of each other, I'd never think of calling it a collab. It's just natural. And when it's gone, the fandom will be a lot more empty. Now I'm going to get myself in trouble. Jesse Wood, aka Drowning in Horseshoes, is someone I've never had to worry about clicking on a video for, or dreading the content. Not to say that I loved everything he did, but I always thought I would, and more often than not I did. That fun-loving bastard who talked down to the audience, and there's no one like Jesse in his absence. Certainly not creatively or diverse. However, there is one content creator who smacks the fuck out of his fanbase, and Brony in general. Now, I'm going to put a skip option here if you don't want to hear me talk about Jerry Pete. Wonder where I got that idea. Now, I've made the mistake of saying they're not all that different, and believe me, I've repeated that in the wrong company, so I feel I'm obligated to point out what's different from these two entertainers. While I've always looked forward to clicking on Jesse's videos, for better or for worse, barring seeing that one was 2 hours long, and even though that turned out to be amazing, I've had to really stare down some of Jerry's videos before clicking on them. Jesse Wood in his videos seemed a lot more open to laugh at himself, whereas Jerry, while admitting fault from time to time, claims he had to be reined in. My final thoughts on Jerry and the Brony fandom: you kinda deserve him. I'm of course referring to all the same people who drove off Digi, Tommy, Jesse Wood, and so many more into retirement. Yes, you really do deserve a completely insufferable twat like Jerry Pete, week in and week out breaking your balls. I'm a horribly vindictive person, and seeing someone so masterfully manipulate the fans in such a way, hell, I'm a-okay with it, and judging by his view count, you guys are okay with it too. So let's get to Tommy Oliver. I've learned to love Rebel Pixels. Tom clearly enjoys himself here more than he ever did doing Pony, and he seems like he's in a much better place mentally. He speaks with confidence, and I see a steady rate of improvement. I'm not an artist or a tablet man, but much like Tyandaga's video on Fallout Equestria, when Tommy goes on and does his videos on tablets and gadgets, he's been able to make it more than enough interesting for me to keep my attention.
So my interest in examining the DWH-69 is twofold. First, I want to compare it to what Wacom offers in the same general price bracket. The DWH-69 retails for about 99 bucks, a fair bit more than other Intuos Pro alternatives that Huion and other companies have up for grabs. For that same $99, Wacom offers the small version of their non-Pro Intuos line, one of which I happen to own. But I'm also interested in comparing it to other Wacom alternatives, as this one has a couple unique features that ups the price. Wireless capabilities, which is a huge inclusion, as not only is it the sole Wacom alternative I'm aware of that has this ability, but the only Wacom product with the wireless kit bundled in is a $349 Intuos Pro. The rest have to get a $39 adapter purchase separately.
I do have a little bit of nitpicking with constructive and destructive criticism, as sometimes, or rather many times in life, it isn't so black and white. Sometimes constructive criticism can be buried in destructive criticism. I do understand the tempo and the expression in this video very much is what's needed for the content creator at this time. There's a channel I'm familiar with by the name of Blunty, where I used to watch for more expensive gadgets.
The Nifty 50, or Fast 50, it's a nickname for what most photographers consider a non-negotiable, absolutely essential member of any snapper's toolkit. Hello again, I am Blunty, and I've got the niftiest of 50s to review for you today. So, the Nifty 50, praised for its natural feeling level of perspective compression and highly versatile focal length field of view, a 50mm prime lens with a nice bright fast aperture is both wonderful for those learning the craft of photography and for seasoned pros. Most of us wouldn't be without one in our kit. So, meet the brand new Sigma 50mm f1.4 Art Series lens, a very highly anticipated stack of glassware that has had many a DSLR shooter salivating with expectation. And it's a Sigma, so naturally you get the usual Sigma value here, really nice padded pouch and a lens hood that comes with as well. And this 50mm lens promises more than a run-of-the-mill nifty 50 lens does. Sigma made some bold claims during the announcement of this lens. Things like they were aiming to not only eclipse the performance of standard Canon and Nikon high-end 50mm lenses, but they were aiming so high they wanted to be as good as, if not better than, the $4,000 plus worth of Zeiss Otis lens.
But the man sadly had moved on to Minecraft videos, and that's not really my bag. So who is to replace Mr. Oliver and Brony? Nada. Zip. Zilch. Even within the Horseshoe crew, Mr. Oliver is one of a kind. Upon speaking with Tom, my opinion of him has only ever grown. My final thoughts on all of this and why many of these guys will move on to greener pastures is, I will continue to follow their work. Not because I want to leave Pony, but because I think it's silly to stop being someone's fan if they're talented enough to make that leap. Brony could be a start, friends. It doesn't have to be the end of the road. Thank you.